Oh, we're rolling on, and I got the video roundtable back up and back going again, and a couple of my faves are joining the show. Again, if you're only hearing us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, find the show via YouTube and the YouTube link, social media link on YouTube for Three Dog Thursday. Here they are. I am a bit disappointed, first of all, that Colby Dant is with me. Not that he's with me. I'm not disappointed in that. But he's not in the bandana with the glasses and the hat, the Washington State Cougar hat like last time, in the parking lot of a bank trying to get change made. That was a big-time standard for you to live up to. I just have like regular Colby, the college experience host on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and I'm fine with that. I'm just saying last time, big time appearance on the podcast, Colby.
I was trying to spice it up, man, but, you know, I'm in Los Angeles. They still haven't opened everything. I was looking for a bowling alley or something, but, you know, had to settle with what we got here, you know? Yeah,
you do. You clean up well. DeShaun Tate is also with me in Atlanta, and there's nobody that knows more than Tate's Take on the hoops, college, and NBA, and we got the NBA Finals going on. How are you, DeShaun Tate?
Man, appreciate you for having me, TJ. I was going to ask you if that was a trick question. You know I'm in my element, so if it's 94 feet long, 50 feet wide, 23 feet and 1 1/4 inches out on the perimeter, it must be NBA Finals. So I think I'm ready. I've got the napkin wrapped around my neck at this point.
Well, and if there's anybody that can shoot the three, it's my man DeShaun here, ready to talk some Lakers and some Heat. We'll get to that in a moment or two. Now, Colby is big into the college football and the college experience. That is the name of his podcast. And I'm going to share the screen immediately here because you dudes went all in at least a couple of years ago on Mike Leach. And my Lord, Colby, did they pull off the upset of the weekend talking of underdogs. Great win at LSU. You guys were all over it. There's Leach in the background. What a victory to open things up as a 16-point underdog. Tell me more, please, real quick.
Yeah, we were on that. I actually got that when they were an 18-point underdog. But yeah, I mean, my thing is, like, I've always thought he's the best coach when it comes to X's and O's, and that's kind of how we became friends with the guy. I wrote an article a few years ago about how I thought he was the best coach when it came to X's and O's. And it was funny because when that happened, a bunch of SEC fans on Twitter, when I released that article, they all started coming at me. Air Raid would never work in the SEC, right? And I'm like, oh, all it took was one game to destroy all your records. You know what I mean? From a passing standpoint. But yeah, man, we're thrilled. You know, obviously Mississippi State fans because you know, Coach Leach invited us up to Wazoo last year when we were covering them when he was with Wazoo, and we were gonna go to Mississippi State before COVID hit. So now I just gotta sit back and enjoy the Bulldogs from a television point of view. So, but yeah, that was awesome.
What a debut. And a Stanford quarterback in KJ Costello, who did he throw for 600 yards his career at Stanford? Yeah. And he threw for 600 yards in his debut at LSU, last week.
I mean, look, wow. I thought they could upset him based off of, the talent, you know, a lot of people were coming out and saying, hey, when Leach's first year at Texas Tech and his first year at Wazoo, you know, they were really bad. And I said, but yeah, those teams had no talent. You look at this Mississippi State team and they have talent. They have that running back's going to be in the NFL. They got a really good linebacker that's going to be in the NFL. So, like, I thought they had a chance. Now, I didn't think they'd throw for 630 yards against LSU, but, you know, I thought they would succeed. I thought they had a good shot at basically pulling off the upset.
And it did happen, and the defending champs were beaten soundly in that one. All right, so we got plenty of college football. I'm going to circle back to Colby to make a couple of underdog predictions, but I've kept DeShaun waiting here for about 90 seconds, and he is salivating to talk Lakers and Heat. Mr. Tate's Take from an underdog standpoint. We don't know what is going to happen or has happened in game one, depending on when they're seeing us. So Miami, again, an underdog in game one. They will be an underdog throughout this series in the bubble in Orlando. What kind of chance do the Heat have to prolong this or maybe threaten Miami? What do you think?
To prolong it, I think they have a good one, TJ. I mean, when you start talking about going up against a Lakers team whose games haven't gone beyond, 5 in a series, They have a really good chance of winning 2. I think that the consensus will probably agree that they'll win 2 games. I don't think this is a thing that's going to go 7 by any stretch of the imagination. The Lakers will certainly be in a lot of trouble if that is the case. That's one of their biggest issues is that they have to kind of keep their foot on the gas. We've seen them kind of give it up from time to time in terms of big leads or not really closing games out in a sound manner. When they were messing around with Denver a little bit too much and things got a little bit scary and kind of shaky for them for that standpoint. A lot of people are comparing this particular finals and series to the one in 2004 where you had the Lakers who were looking really stout with Peyton and Shaq and Kobe and Karl Malone against my bad boys Detroit Pistons team. So I'm not sure I'll go so far to call that kind of an upset, although I do really believe that they can win 2 games very easily.
Again, you may know whether or not the Heat pulled an upset in Game 1. We keep preaching this, though. Just because you win Game 1 doesn't mean you're going to win the series upset, or even if the Lakers were to win Game 1. I will tell the audience again, remind you that all the way back at the beginning of the podcast, Brian Edwards, our senior handicapper from Brian Edwards Sports and Vegas Insider, took the Heat to win the series outright. He believes they will win in 6 or 7 games.
Can I eat up on some of that, TJ?
Please, man. Colby's shaking his head. Colby is out in LA.
I want to get some of my bills paid. I want to get some of my bills paid.
Maybe Colby is shaking his head out in LA. I know they can't fathom that LeBron and AD would lose this series right now out there in LA. But again, it's in a bubble. You're not traveling. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, Colby D? I don't know.
I mean, I took. This sounds bad, but I'm saying when Kobe's, accident happened, the first thing I thought was there's no way the NBA is not going to let the Lakers win the championship. So I took a future on the Lakers to win a championship then. I mean, that sounds bad, but I just think they're too good also, obviously. Coming into the season prior to Kobe's accident, I still thought they had a very good chance. But when that happened, I was like, dude, everyone's heart goes with the Lakers right now. If not, there's something wrong with you. And look, I grew up on the East Coast hating the Lakers. Right. So it's like that Kobe thing. I don't know how anyone couldn't be, really upset about that. And so I just think there's no way the Lakers don't. I mean, maybe they lose a game or 2 in the series, but I'm saying they're going to win the series, I think.
Go ahead, DeShaun.
Can I throw something out there at you? I don't know if Kobe has been living in my brain or when I'm asleep at night, if he's sneaking into my apartment and looking through my notes. I said the exact same thing verbatim about the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant. I just really, especially because the Lakers have the team to actually do it anyway. Yeah. And it's just funny that Kobe even brings that up. I guess great minds think alike, I suppose.
And keep in mind, we got to keep everything in perspective because 2020 right now seems like it has been 3 years in one. That was earlier this calendar year, and you just wondered emotionally how it was going to help the Lakers or hurt the Lakers. And then we had a total COVID shutdown of all of sports. It went away for the NBA for 4 months. But right now that within that organization, they want to do this for his memory. They want 2020 to be a championship year for his memory. So you guys bring up a good point that from an inspirational standpoint, 3,000 miles to the east in Orlando, away from LA, they still want to do this for the legend of Kobe Bryant. So you bring up both you guys bring up a great point.
And not only that, but even on top of that, when you start looking at 2009 Kobe versus 2020 LeBron, both of them beat Houston out in the second round to go to the conference championship. They both beat Denver, and now there's a good chance that LeBron can join Kobe in winning his 4th world championship in Orlando. So I guess for those who believe in that type of stuff, I guess that's just a little bit more insane.
Maybe it will line up. Here's what I believe in. I believe in underdogs on this podcast, and we got to get back to a couple of college football underdogs. Colby has been just rubbing the hands like over the open flame here to get after it on an underdog or two. Give me one, Mr. College Experience Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network of shows. Give me an underdog, please.
Well, I'll tell you the first one that I truly like the best is the Charlotte 49ers. If they play, they've had their games canceled the past 2 or 3 weeks with COVID. But I like this team. I think Will Healy's a great coach, and I think he's got this program. They're out of the Conference USA. A lot of people was like, "Who's Charlotte? Who's this?" But they just started their football program in the past 10 years, and Will Healy came over from Austin Peay, and I think he's doing a great job. Took him to a bowl in his first year, a season ago. They had never been to a bowl. playing Florida Atlantic, who bringing in Willie Taggart, who was with Florida State. And even though I actually think Taggart got a little bit of a bad rap because I think Jimbo Fisher started that fire, I still think coming in, brand new coach with a COVID season, you don't get a lot. They haven't played a game yet. They had some games canceled. Takes time to implement your offense, your defense. I like Charlotte that's already had that installed. So give me Charlotte on the money line. They're a 7-point dog. Opened up at 9, but I think they're a 7-point dog currently.
So you like that one. And again, I already took a couple of underdogs before you came on here. I like Texas Tech at Kansas State, which they'll be talking about on the College Experience podcast. I also like Boston College at home getting a bunch of points with North Carolina. North Carolina was supposed to play Charlotte, and because of the COVID outbreak for Charlotte, they didn't play that game. North Carolina hasn't played in 3 weeks since the opening game win with Syracuse. Let's see how they do in an ACC road game with Boston College. Colby, do you have another college underdog that you like real quick?
Well, do you want to go small play or big play? Because if you want to go play.
Give me big. Go big, brother. Go big. Go.
I think it's not crazy to think that South Carolina can pull the upset in Florida. List they're 18. I think they're an 18-point dog currently.
That's correct.
Here's my angles here. You saw even South Carolina, they won 4 games a season ago, but they did knock off Georgia in Athens. So they're capable. Will Muschamp also fired by the University of Florida, right? They got their heart broken last week. They stopped Tennessee to get the ball back with about a minute left, and it looked like they potentially the offense was hot, so they were ready to get back on the field, but they punted. Tennessee punted, and South Carolina fumbled the punt, so the offense never got back on. I like their grad transfer quarterback, Colin Hill, and look, everyone's on Florida saying, oh, man, Kyle Trask looked great. And he did. He threw 6 touchdowns against Ole Miss. I'm not taking that away from him. But
right.
Ole Miss, it was someone that I had circled as they're a pretty bad defense. Right? Well, I think 24 or something to Tennessee. But I thought Muschamp, that's his specialty, defense. And I think he's got a little something extra going against the team that fired him. So it wouldn't surprise me if they won outright. Or if that's a ball game in the fourth quarter.
He's calling that one in the Sunshine State here, which there are a lot of Gator fans that would be, wow, if that one comes through. That's the voice of Colby Dant. If you're only hearing us on the 3 Dog Thursday podcast, find the show via YouTube off the 3 Dog Thursday YouTube page, a social media link. Our partners with Sports Gambling Podcast, their website, their network of shows do a great job promoting us. And I want to promote these guys as well. You can find Colby Dant. I'm sharing the screen again here on the video. Find the College Experience. There it is. There's the podcast. You're seeing it on video. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts and check out the College Experience. He is Pick Dundee. I love that nickname from the old Crocodile Dundee movies in the 80s. He's Pick Dundee. Do you do it with an Australian accent, though, mate? On making the picks.
I'm horrible. You're
horrible. Charlotte 49ers, mate, for the College Experience. There's the podcast. There's that info. While we're plugging away, you're also hearing the voice of DeShaun Tate. Tate's Take is the podcast. Tate's Take Hoops is the Twitter handle. There it is. And DeShaun, you had Rob Parker on this week, one of the premier voices on Fox Sports Radio, longtime NBA guy out of the Detroit market and the LA market. They can go hear the interview with Rob Parker, an extended conversation about the NBA playoffs, etc. on Tate's Take. There it is right there on the video screen. If you're finding us on YouTube, go subscribe, find the podcast. As DeShaun and I often joke, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your relatives, tell everybody. Go find the podcast. Correct, DeShaun?
That would absolutely be correct. I couldn't have said it better myself, TJ.
All right. So, again, these guys have been hanging with me on 3 Dog Thursday. Neither one of them are buying that the Heat can pull the upset. We'll find out what happens with that overall in the series. They might win a game or two. We'll find out. And the College Experience, you guys pick every game for college football on sportsgamblingpodcast.com, and you talk about virtually every game on the podcast, right?
Yeah, college football and college basketball. Anything D1, we handicap every single game. We've been doing it for a while, so – 3 years of doing it, we've all been over 50% picking every game and over 50% with our locks. So
how about that? So DeShaun's got to wait for Michigan State football, but you see the basketball over his right shoulder. He is Sparty through and through. And we had no March Madness and we had no Final Four, but we hope to get some college basketball later in the year. Dude,
Yeah.
you did a great job on the Roundtable podcast. Let's see what happens with the finals. Let's see what happens with the college football underdogs. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you hopping on the YouTube Roundtable with me.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for having me, TJ. I really appreciate it.
There goes Colby Dant from the college experience. DeShaun Tate, Tate's Take the podcast. We roll on Three Dog Thursday. Brian Edwards rejoining me straight ahead with some more NFL talk. Stay with us.